Alright, and welcome back to DraftKings Omniscience. In this video, I'm going to discuss my top 5 running backs that I like for value for week 1. And we're going to get right into it, actually. My top running back that I like for value week 1 is Chris Ivory. For a couple reasons, but for one, it doesn't look like he's splitting very many carries, and it looks like he is going to get a lot of carries and even more than he did last year. On top of that, his preseason has been going pretty well. He's had pretty good average yards per carry. He had a nice 33-yard touchdown run, and week 1 he is going up against the Cleveland Browns, who, if we search for Chris Ivory and we click on his name and we look at his matchup, we see that the Browns were absolutely terrible in giving up a lot of rushing yards to opposing running backs. And that's not quite the only reason. His price is just really good at $4,100. Now, Chris Ivory hasn't been known to catch the ball a lot, but if you look at some of his, if you go to Roto World and search for him and look at what they were saying, he was utilized more in the passing game. So that's a good sign. He may get some more catches during the game as well, which would be huge. But really, I mean, his upside is if he rushes for over 100 yards and with a touchdown, and maybe he has 3 catches for 30 yards, that would net, 25 points. Let's see, 100 yards rushing plus the 3-point bonus for going over 100 yards. So that'd be 10 points for 100 yards rushing, 3 points for the bonus is 13. 6 points for 1 touchdown would be 19. 3 catches is 1 point per catch, so that's 3 points, and 30 yards for that would be another 3 points. That'd be 25 points. Now, really, he's going to be worth his weight if he scores 20 points. That's really good. I think he even has potential for scoring 30 points this game. However, there are more players on the Jets that could, kind of steal some looks, but overall, I don't really see the Browns threatening much this game. I could be wrong. The point spread in that game is only 3 points, but the Browns offense needs a lot of work, and I just envision the Jets being up, and they're at home, and if they're up, then there's not too much of a reason for them to throw the ball late in the game. So all those reasons kind of bring together Chris Ivory being my top choice. And behind him is Lamar Miller. Now, Miller is not quite as cheap as, he's a little bit more expensive than my other value picks for running back, but at $5,500 I think he can still be included in one of the value picks. Miller's going up against the Washington Redskins, and again, the point spread in this game is 3.5 points, which isn't a lot, and the Dolphins are favored though. But I'm a little surprised that the point spread is only 4 points. That the Dolphins are only favored by 4 points in this game. I mean, if they were on neutral turf, they would be favored by a touchdown, but the Dolphins' defense is pretty top-notch, and I don't see them taking a lot of risks this game. And if they get up pretty early, they should be using Lamar Miller a good bit. I think he could be getting 20 to 25 touches this game, and if that's the case, then he could definitely be worth his weight. I mean, he could easily score 27 points this game, making him well worth his pick. And again, he could have 5 catches this game, which would be huge if he has 5 catches this game. So yeah, and he's known for receiving the ball a decent amount, not a ton, but a decent amount. So he's my number 2 pick. Number 3, and actually he wasn't on my radar originally, but Danny Woodhead. I didn't notice, but when I looked him up on Roto World, it looks like he has a lot of good stuff coming out of the preseason. and it looks like he's healthy. He was injured for pretty much all of last year, but if you look back at his 2013, he caught the ball 70. He had 76 catches. So the reason why he is in my top 5 for running backs for value is solely because of his receiving abilities. And on DraftKings, it's a full point per reception. So if we look up Danny Woodhead, he's only 3,700, which is quite the steal. I mean, he only has to be worth maybe 18 points to really be worth his weight for a solid, on a solid team. And I think he could easily be worth 18 points. 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. There's 18 points. Plus, what I like about Danny Woodhead is that he's on the Chargers. And first of all, the Chargers, they are favored. Only by 3 points, but they are favored. And they are at home. And, he is the definite, change of pace back. He is the definite receiver on this team. And on top of that, on his team, there aren't a whole lot of other players that are going to really compete for a ton of looks. I mean, of course, Keenan Allen's going to be targeted a lot. Other receivers probably a little more sparingly, but Danny Woodhead really does have decent value, I believe, week 1, to be worth his weight at only 3,700. So he's my number 3 pick. So number 4, I went with Doug Martin as my number 4 guy. And I suppose this is only because now he doesn't seem to be receiving a lot of balls, but there are some good reports coming out of the preseason about him. It does seem like he's looking better than the last couple seasons that were really disappointing. So I'm not using Doug Martin a ton in lineups, but I mean he's only 4,500, so that's really cheap. He's at home, and he's going up against Tennessee, and Tennessee they were pretty bad against the run last year, pretty bad. So he could be worth a decent amount of points, mainly because he could be getting a decent amount of touches. So as long as he can, make something decent out of, he could get 20 touches or so in this game. Who knows? But and the other reason why he could be getting a few more touches, it could be if Mike Evans is out. If Mike Evans is out, then Doug Martin kind of goes up a little bit in the number of touches he'll see. Right now, Mike Evans is questionable, and it doesn't sound too good to be questionable. They're playing Sunday, and he didn't practice Monday, so we'll see what happens with that. But if Mike Evans is out, then Doug Martin does go up in my book a little bit, but I'm still going to use him pretty sparingly. So number 5 is Alfred Blue. Now, Blue is basically a very inexpensive pick for week 1, only because Arian Foster's out. And when these prices first came out, they were factoring in Alfred Blue being the backup, not being the starter. So he does have a lot of value in being the starter for the Texans, and it doesn't look like Kansas City was all that great at defending the run. At the same time, they still have a pretty good defense, and it doesn't sound like Alfred Blue did anything really amazing in the preseason. So his value is kind of going to be more in if they get close to the goal line and he's able to punch in a couple touchdowns. And it does kind of look like they might even use a running back by committee. I'm not too sure on that, but I mean, don't quote me on that. It does sound like Blue's the starter. He'll get most of the touches. I'm just not super thrilled about him, and it doesn't look like he has some receptions. So I'm using him in some lineups where I want to go really deep and expensive, and inexpensive wide receivers, so I might, combine Blue with Ivory. But more so lately, I've been liking Woodhead more than Blue. So, and that's kind of more of a hunch, so to speak, because Danny Woodhead is going to be, part of a running back by committee. So yeah, keep those players in mind. If there's some running backs that I missed that you really like, let me know. I did think about putting Amir Abdullah in this top 5, but it does sound like Joy Bell will be healthy. So, with that being the case, it does sound like Amir Abdullah will be used pretty sparingly, so I didn't put him in my top 5, but he kind of is an honorable mention at he's only 4,000. So pretty inexpensive. I do have him in some of my lineups just in case they end up, giving him the rock for a little while, or if Joy Bell somehow goes down or gets injured again or something during the game or whatever, they'll lean on him. But at the same time, I'm more cautious with using him in lineups than I was before. So yeah, so there you have it. That's my top 5 for week 1 for running backs. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informational for you. Any questions, please ask in the comments below. Any kind of pointers you'd like to make about running backs week 1, please mention it below. And good luck.